helps you, with your conference planning and overall will improve your experience once you're on site. Joel?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are. My name is Joel Oliva. I'm the Director of Innovation at CCO Certification. We run a large certification program for construction crane operators and other related crafts. I'm this year's Program Committee Vice Chair, so I've been working with Erica and Katie to put this year's program together, and so excited to see so many of you here and excited to see some of you in what will hopefully be sunny, warm Florida in a couple of weeks. So it's a pretty short presentation today. We really just wanted to, this was an idea that the committee had. We just thought for those of you that are planners, I suspect most of you on this call today are probably planners. So welcome as fellow planner. We thought it'd be good to get a little bit of insight in case you've never been before. I.C.E certainly has a lot of great things to offer, and we want to make sure you get the absolute most out of it. So we just broke it down into three sort of buckets today. Erica's going to start with the conference basics, just a high level outline, what to expect, what to focus on, how to prepare as best you can. And then I'll jump in a little bit more with preparing to attend, sort of like what to do before you get there, and certainly what to do when you get on site. And if time permits, we'll have some questions. Of course, I'm sure Eric and I will be available either now or later. If you have any questions, consider us friends already that you can come up and talk to. I hope, Erica, you don't mind me saying that. So you don't feel alone at the event. And really looking forward to get into it today. So, Erica, I will hand it to you to get us started.
Awesome. Thank you, Joel. And yes, when you see us on site, feel free to come up and introduce yourself, and we're happy to help you on site as much as we are today. So yeah, as Joel said, I'm going to share some basics about the conference. To start off, just kind of let you know who else will be on site with us when we're in Miami. The stats that are on the screen are kind of averages from past years, and it really is that I.C.E exchange is designed for all levels of credentialing experience, both in the public and private sectors, and organizations are sending people to this conference, that range from new to the industry up to the C-suite. So you are going to be interacting with folks from all across the board here while you're on site. Last year, about 30% of attendees were at that executive level, 35% at the director level, and 24% at the manager level. In addition to that, there is a mix of associates, coordinators, the psychometricians, and also, public board members are in attendance quite often. As far as the levels of experience, we've got, jump
Right,
back
sorry,
a
I
second,
jumped
Joel.
ahead.
That's okay. Um, you know, for some of you, you may have been in the industry, you're brand new, or maybe you've been around for 20 years and you just haven't attended I.C.E before. You've got friends while you're here. Last year, 20% of attendees were in that 0 to 3 experience, and then up to 29% had 16 or more across the board. So we have a lot of people who will be here. So no matter what your personal experience has been in the industry, there's somebody who you're going to be sitting beside in a session that probably has a similar background. So reach out, talk to people, see who's sitting beside you. Okay, next up. With that, like all of you, last year there were about 30% of the folks attending were first time attendees. So, like I said, you see we've got a good attendance today. There are going to be a lot of first timers on site. Um, and like we said though before, just because somebody's a first time attendee doesn't mean they're new to the industry. So, you know, look for, when you're there, make sure you grab a first time attendee badge. Look for those while you're on site. Introduce yourself to other first time attendees, because when we're new to a conference, every one of us, you kind of wander around, especially if your coworkers aren't there. Who am I going to sit with at lunch? Who am I going to sit with in a session? Use those first time attendees to really connect with folks that you haven't met before. All right, next up. All right, so now that we know who's going to be at the exchange, we want to talk a little bit more about the education sessions. That's a primary reason that people attend the conference. Um, while you're there, we have education programming broken into 7 bigger categories, and this slide tells you kind of the distribution across those, each of the tracks. Now, when you are planning ahead and selecting your sessions you want to attend, you are welcome to stay in a single track. Maybe you have a particular goal you're trying to achieve in your education and your professional development, but you are not required to do that. You can jump across these tracks, as you go through the day. We have 85 sessions to choose from, so make sure you review them in advance and pre-select, 1 or 2 from every one of the blocks through the days, of what interests you most and are going to meet those goals that you want on site. Okay, next. While you're reviewing those session descriptions, you also want to look at, the type of sessions. We offer concurrent and audience interactive. Concurrent sessions are your traditional presentations. They're panel discussions, a PowerPoint with Q&A at the end, those types of things. They're usually 60 to 75 minutes long. The 75-minute ones will be at the end of the day, so they can run a little bit longer in the schedule. And they are set in rooms with AV available. Those facilitated discussions are 60 minutes long and they do not have AV. They are really intended to be more interactive, more conversational. The presenters are really more moderators. They're going to ask questions to the group so you can learn from all of your peers who are in the room with you. So think about that if you're a little bit on the shy side, where do you sit in those interactive rooms? Or, if that helps you guide where you sit in those, that's good to know. Um, and then another thing, we have a great attendance. I saw that question was posed in the chat a moment ago. The attendance this year is really large. So with that, consider when we're on site, arriving to your rooms early. With the high attendance, the rooms are being shifted to be more of a theater seating to accommodate larger crowds. And if rooms fill up, we may have to restrict access for fire code issues. So, if there's a session you really want to see, make sure you get there early to get a seat. Okay, next up. All right. You know, Beyond the concurrent and the facilitated discussions, you're going to find some shorter presentation formats scattered throughout the conference. So make sure you check out the 15-minute lightning learning sessions. They are hosted in the exhibit hall. And make sure you also, at the back of the innovation hall or the exhibit hall, there are e-posters that are more, something is being presented more in a written format or a video format. And those will be up throughout the event. So, anytime you're wandering through the innovation, I'll go check those out. There's a lot of research that's maybe not quite ready for a full concurrent session, but somebody wanted to share it with all of us. So go check out those e-posters. And then beyond the regular learning sessions, we also have a lot of networking opportunities. That is another one of those primary reasons people attend the exchange. So make sure you're participating in those. The interactive sessions, leadership town hall on Monday afternoon. And there's actually a couple of networking sessions built in that are like walk and talk, kind of a unique format that was introduced last year. So check those all out too. Right. And if you're arriving in time, there are some pre-conference workshops, on Sunday. They are 3-hour long sessions. They are really deep dives into very specific topics. So check those out in the program or in the app once you get that figured out. And Joel will talk about that in a moment. These do require pre-registration, but if you haven't registered yet, and you see something in there you're really interested in, that's okay. Once you're on site and you're picking up your badge, you can add them to your registration on site. There is a separate fee for those pre-cons, so consider that. But when you check in, you are more than welcome to add those if you haven't already done so. All right, finally. Here are some sessions and events that we want to highlight specifically to you guys as first time attendees and make sure that way you can make sure you're making the most of your attendance at the event. We have a fantastic keynote speaker who will be kicking us off on Monday morning. So hopefully you'll come and learn about that. It's talking about friendship and loneliness in the workplace. And it's very data driven keynote speaker. It's pretty cool topic. So hopefully you'll find some value there. And then also make sure that you join us for the first time attendee reception on Sunday evening. It's from 5 to 6 o'clock. If you didn't register yet, you'll want to do so. If you haven't, be sure to contact Katie and she can help you work that into your registration. So with that, we hope you have a fantastic conference and Joel's going to dig in more on kind of the logistics side of things. So thanks,
Thanks so
Joel.
much. Thanks so much, Erica. So I did want to share, I asked Katie just before we started how many attendees we have. We set a record this year for I.C.E. We're up to 885 registrants, which is a record, which is super, super exciting. I do want to echo what Erica said. This event is really, really, in my experience, a lot of people are coming for education, so the sessions do fill up. Get there early if it's one you like. Make sure you get a good spot. I.C.E. does a great job of like bringing extra chairs as best they can, but at some point, I suppose we might run into some of those fire code issues. So since you're here, that tells me you're a planner, and planners like to be early, so be early if you can be. All right, so let's get into preparing to attend. And what I like about this is this kind of one-stop shop. I could not recommend it more to all of you that you download the mobile app. We all have a lot of mobile apps. I'm sure we all probably have more than we want. But at least for the week that you're there, I could not recommend this more. I.C.E has done a fantastic job of bringing this technology. It's really enhanced the event over the last, I don't know, Katie, at least 4 or 5 years, I think. And we've tried to make this as easy as possible. I can see some of you, so if you pick up your phone and scan that QR code now, you won't regret it. It's an app that you can download. It's really easy to get set up. There's a few instructions you have to go through to create the account. To be clear, for those of you that might have an existing I.C.E account, like if you're a CCP certified or something, this is a different login, so don't confuse them that you'll have to create another account. But nonetheless, you can scan that QR code, or you can just search for I.C.E events in the App Store and get it downloaded. And the app is so great because it's truly a one-stop shop. You can see all the sessions, the names, the speakers, the slides if the individuals have provided those. You can like mark the favorites. You can kind of build your calendar. There's a calendar feature in there that's really nice. For those of you that like to engage with other attendees, there's like a communication feature. You can post stuff on social media. And then one thing that our committee cares deeply about is the session evaluations. So we got rid of paper a while ago, and so now we really do, and I mean this, the committee does review those evaluations. We very much take those into considerations when reviewing future sessions. And so you'll hear me and Erica and anyone else who does moderating at the events to fill out the evaluation. Having the app downloaded in advance will make a difference. So again, couldn't recommend it more. I see some of you looking down. I hope you're looking down at the app, checking it out, getting signed in because it will make a big difference.
Joel, we have some
Okay.
questions about the app. Can I answer them
Oh,
real quickly?
sure.
So there's a question about where on the app do you get the presentations, and it'll be uploaded. So not all presenters have submitted their sessions yet, but once you click into a session description, there'll be an option at the bottom that'll list their presentation in a handout. And please note too, sometimes they change them and update them as it gets closer to the event. We do our best to make sure they're updated, but we do work with the speakers, and sometimes there's even a super last minute change and the final presentation might be a little different. And then somebody asked about needing a unique account for the app. It will ask you to set up an account for the app. And really that's so that I.C.E staff, if you have any issues, can go in on the back end to provide you with support. So it'll ask you to do that.
Great. Great questions.
Mhm.
Okay. So in terms of selecting sessions, I think Erica did a really good job of kind of outlining this at a high level, but definitely give some thought to the track that maybe best fits with your role, but don't hesitate at all to jump from one track to the other. There's great presentations. Depending on how long you've been in the industry, take a look at who the speakers are. That might kind of give you a sense of what they're going to be talking about. Certainly review the discussions and definitely understand the format. That can make a big difference. A concurrent session, the traditional versus a lightning learning or a facilitated discussion, they can be quite different. And so make sure you're going into that. I saw someone asked a really good question about the facilitated discussion, and I liked Katie's response. So that will help a lot. Do keep that in mind. And yeah, I mean, there's at least in my experience, there's always like more than one I want to attend. So it can be sometimes a bit of a challenge to manage it. But if you're going with a colleague, do your best to break it up. And I think in general, you'll find it to be really positive and really helpful. So but do your best to plan because for me, I remember my first time I was completely overwhelmed. Like I didn't plan. I just was like, all right, that one looks good. I just kind of went to it. And so there's a lot of sessions. 80, was it 85, Erica? It's a lot to work through. And so taking a little time to prepare can really, really pay off in the long run. All right, so in terms of what to do on site, I mean, beyond for those that haven't been, the Fontainebleau Hotel is an absolutely wonderful hotel in Miami, Florida. It's a great time of year to be there. That alone will make the trip worth it, I'm sure. But in terms of just some things to keep in mind, wear comfortable shoes. You're walking back and forth quite a bit. It's all relatively contained, I believe, this time, Katie. Other events sometimes were a bit more spread out. But nonetheless, you'll be, if you're getting the most out of the event, you'll be walking around a lot, make sure you're comfortable. And certainly dress in layers. Those rooms can sometimes get a bit chilly. They're pumping that AC in pretty good. So if you're someone who gets cold, plan accordingly, of course. I really want to point out registration. When you arrive on site, even if you registered in advance, you will definitely want to visit the registration desk to pick up your badge and any of your, swag or whatever I.C.E will have for us. I did want to note the registration hours there. No surprise here. The busiest times are going to be right before the events on the Sunday night and in the morning on Monday morning. So that's when most people come. If you can avoid those times, great. Like if you can come in a little early on Sunday, you'll save yourself some time. I've never seen the lines too scary at I.C.E. But if you don't like waiting in line, you might want to avoid those times. And they've got a really good system that makes the process relatively automated and pretty simple to get through. Another shout out to pick up that first timer badge or ribbon, excuse me, or any other ribbons that would apply to you. But again, you can see the registration times there. And you do want to make sure you do that before you go to any of the sessions. So that really, in terms of I.C.E, should be your first stop. Find that registration area, head right there, get the information you need. You'll have the mobile app, of course, by then, and you'll be off and running. And last up is just, kind of making the most of the exchange. We've talked about planning quite a bit already. It is a very busy week and lots of opportunities and lots of things to do. So make the most of it. I really want to emphasize that introduce yourself to other attendees. This is a very, very friendly group of people. Always looking to engage, always looking to bring new people in. I think the I.C.E community does a fabulous job of that. So, first timer attendees are really good first place, like to break the ice. I mean, literally break the ice. And so we'll have some activity planned for that to help with that help with that breaking of the ice. And then even just beyond that, don't hesitate to introduce yourself to people. One thing that, as a former speaker of the event, I love when people would come up to me after the event as a speaker and ask me questions. Like, I know I used to be a bit shy and like I didn't want to go up and bother the speaker, but they love that. I mean, engage with individuals. That's a simple way to connect with people. Ask questions, get to know folks. It's a really, really wonderful community, and I think you'll all enjoy it, especially if you can find a way to engage. And then the exhibit hall, of course. The exhibit hall is a great place to go. If in doubt, run through the exhibit hall. There's the great vendors we have. The vendors make a huge difference to putting the I.C.E event happen. So we do want to recognize them. There's the best folks in the industries are in that space. I.C.E attracts the best folks. And so, feel free to stop by with the vendors, pick up some swag, have a conversation. It can be a really, really great place. I believe, Katie, all the breaks and stuff take place in there, like, to grab a coffee or water, a snack or what have you. So you'll be pulled into that place anyway. It's not huge if you've never been before. Katie, do you know how many exhibitors we have this year?
I think we have around 40 this
Okay.
year. So yeah, it's not a very huge hall. And I just wanted to add too, many of the exhibitors are also our thought leaders in the field, and they'll be presenting sessions as well.
Absolutely.
So it's another great chance too, like if you wanted to connect with someone, to like find them at the booth and have a conversation there.
Right. Yeah. I think that really speaks to the community. I think one thing is really cool about I.C.E that may be different from other conferences you've been to is there's not like a thick line in the sand between the members of I.C.E and the vendors of I.C.E. It's all one big happy family. And so you can have any conversation with anyone really at any time. And that's one thing I really like about the I.C.E event. And definitely check out those networking events. You'll get a chance to connect with folks, and just take advantage of the time together. We missed it in 2020 during COVID. It was a very different I.C.E that year, and so it's nice to be back in person. We're pretty much back in the swing of things, and the in-person events can be really powerful for us. So with that completes our slides. We didn't want to overwhelm you guys with too much information, so I think we'll, Katie, open it up for questions. I don't know if anything's come through on your end.
Yeah, we answered most of them. Laura asked about the mobile app. So can you go back to the slide? But we also sent an email yesterday, Laura, so I can go ahead and I'll resend it to you with the link. And I'm pretty sure we tend to send these daily emails like pack your bag and like what's happening on this day to our attendees. So we'll usually include a link to the app there. And you can always, of course, if you have any issues, stop by the registration desk. And someone can help you out and do any troubleshooting for any issues that you might have. There was a question about to know anything about the hotel check-in. If you're staying on site, you just check in like you do like any other hotel. And actually the hotel registration is kind of right next to where like the I.C.E events are. So you should see our I.C.E signage when you try and check in at the Fontainebleau. But there's nothing in particular anything different that you would need to do when you check in. Someone's asking a question about CEs for I.C.E CCP recertification. For recertification, or for you want to claim credit for that, we do give out digital badges that tracks what you've attended for conference, and that's what you would probably submit for your proof if you want the CE credit for the I.C.E CCP. I also always recommend to email certification@credentialingexcellence.org. I'll put that in the chat too. as they can always like provide you with specific details for what they might want or what you might want to think about gathering for your proof of continuing education.
Katie, can I add something to that too?
Yeah.
If you are I.C.E. CCP certified, when you are in the app, you also see each of the sessions also note at the top, and that's why I wanted to look real quick, underneath the session title, what content area that particular session is mapped to as well. So if that helps you select your sessions and you need recertification points, that's a good way to use the app too.
Morgan, you have a question?
Hey, I do have a question. So how do you check to see if we are in the session to get the digital badge? Is there a scanner at the door?
No, so we provide badges just based on your registration. So we don't do scanning for the conference. So you would just attend for what you're interested in. And then again, I'll see too if I'll talk to my colleague Linda about recommendations, and we can we'll put it on the website and update it a couple places so you all know how to like track credit. Any other questions? I'll share too that I.C.E. staff, we are always here to help you to have a great experience. And we'll be wandering around like during sessions, and we'll have a booth at the back of the innovation hall and at registration. I think our ribbon color is maroon, but don't ever hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, or if there was any session you really loved. We love hearing that feedback too. So like if there's another way that we can offer it to a broader audience. So, or just any questions you have, just don't hesitate to reach out to us. So we're here to help you on site.
Thank you. I have a question. You mentioned that on Sunday there is, I was looking the app, I just downloaded it, and there are sessions, but those are for a fee, and that's not included in the regular. Okay, so it actually starts on the Monday.
So yeah, we'll Sunday night at, I think it's like 6:15, or actually we have a first time attendee reception at 5 o'clock. And there's that in the welcome reception. And then, right, all the education starts, there's with our kickoff with our keynote at 8 the next day. So Monday and Tuesday, and then half day Wednesday.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So one thing I'll kind of off of the conference, but since you're all new, you probably got an email last week about the call for volunteers for 2025. So when you're on site, you know, if you think this has been great, I want to be a part of this next year, be sure to submit to be a volunteer next year. The due date is November 22nd, so you have to get on it right after the conference. But you know, as Joel and I have been volunteering with I.C.E. for years and years, and we both, I'm going to speak for Joel in this case, get a lot out of it, and the different, you know, tighter networking opportunities, and you know, just making friends and colleagues across the industry at the volunteer level is just really cool. And it is a very tight-knit community. So that's another opportunity as you grow your careers and want to expand who you're connecting with at I.C.E. Think about volunteering, and you know, it's a lot of fun.
I echo that for sure. It makes a big difference.
And I just want to reiterate one final comment. Remember that 30%, a third of attendees are first timers. So just keep that in your mind, and they come from all kinds of experience levels. So I hope that helps you feel more comfortable speaking out and connecting with people and really starting to build your credentialing network. I don't see any other questions. So, oh, I hear one came in. Somebody wants to connect with firms for a new credentialing organization. I really recommend, even in the mobile app too, you can see who our exhibitors are. And that's a great place to start and talk with people about what you're looking for and where you might want to start having some conversations. Anything, Joel and Erica, about that question?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Certainly, you know, engage with those individuals, talk to other attendees. I mean, that's what I do for sure, right? Talk to other attendees. What are they doing? Who are they using? What do they like? What don't they like? People are very open and honest. Again, it's the competitive piece of it works, I think, very, very well. It's a very supportive and complementary community. A lot of people move within, it's not that big an industry, so there's definitely a lot of movement from one vendor to another. So everyone gets along, you know, feel free to ask questions. But yeah, exhibit booth, I'm sure they would love to talk to you all. And if you're having a good conversation with somebody, you feel free to ask them. I've always been, never had an awkward scenario with someone at an event. It's always been a very open conversation. So.
And I would add, as you're doing your research on sessions or, seeing who those companies are who might be exhibitors, look and see if they have anybody speaking.
Yeah.
Thinking about that thought leader comment
Mm.
that Katie made a few minutes ago.
Mhm.
If you really like something you're seeing and you see one of their folks are presenting, go check out the session. It might give you some insight, kind of some good intel to bring back based on the presentation and beyond what you might hear from more of it, the sales stuff in the booth.
All right, does anyone have any other questions? Well, with that, if you do have one that comes up in the next minute or so, please feel free to ask it and we can stay on for a minute. But to everyone else, thank you so much for joining. Again, we'll post this recording so you can access it later, and really looking forward to seeing you so soon in Miami.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks
Thank you,
for coming.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in, so I am going to stop the recording.